In this video, I'm going to talk about the one thing that makes you lose the most amount of money on a poker table. And that one thing is tilt. Now, every single poker player in the world suffers from tilt at some point or another. And it all depends on what is the situation that you put yourself in. A lot of people end up tilting in a poker game because they lost a hand that they were supposed to win. So in essence, they got a bad beat. When they were all in with aces and the guy was all in with kings, you're supposed to win 8 out of 10 times. And when you lose and he wants his 2 out of 10 times, that's when you tilt. Because you think, man, finally I got a big hand. I'd been waiting for this hand all night. I had a big pot and I had him almost dead to rights. And then somehow he pulled his 2-outer and he beat me in a big pot. And now I have this big uphill journey of trying to recover your losses, right? So that's when people start tilting and they start making more emotional decisions because something of value was at stake. It was money. Money represents something of value. It represents your hopes, your dreams, your past sacrifices, and the future plans that you have. Maybe that money was your retirement. Maybe that money was your entertainment expense. Whatever it was, you earned that money from hard work and sacrifice. So nobody wants to lose money. Nobody likes losing money. When you lose money, you naturally have an emotional reaction to it. And that emotional reaction makes you make terrible, terrible decisions. And that is why everybody tilts. Everybody can remember that one session, that one fateful session in which you ended up losing most of your poker budget. So everybody has a poker bankroll and they had a certain number of dollars in their mind. They have a certain amount in their mind that they're okay to lose in poker. And if you were somebody like me, I have lost almost half of my bankroll in a poker session. And that was one of the most devastating day. And I was thinking, man, why did I start playing this game in the first place? I should just have stuck to my job. I was doing a job for almost 3 years and I was playing poker on the side. And one day I quit my job because I was making more money through poker than I was making through my job. And I started playing poker full time. And then one of those days happens when you lose more than you thought you would ever lose. In that day, you are just it's rock bottom. You hit rock bottom and you think there is no way you can get out. And that's what really, really bad tilt feels like. And at that time, if you continue playing poker, it's going to lead to nothing but disaster. So a lot of people have experienced this feeling. But let me ask you this. If you were in a game where you knew that you're going to keep winning over the long run, maybe not today, but tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, but over the week, you're going to win at the end of the day, then would you still tilt? I mean, if you knew it deep into your bones that there is no way you could lose in this poker game, would you still tilt? I have solved the problem of tilt. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what the solution to tilt is. But before that, I'm going to tell you why tilt happens in the first place. You see, tilt happens because of expectation. You have a certain expectation when it comes to a particular hand. What you need to do is you need to extend that expectation to not just the current session, but to the long-term results that you're going to have in that game. I don't have any expectation when it comes to a single hand. I don't have an expectation when it comes to a single session, but I absolutely have an expectation whenever I go to a new poker game or I have an expectation of the current poker game that I'm playing in. I have an expectation of what the results will be at the end of me playing in this game. Basically, until the game dies, I have an expectation. And that is always a positive expectation. And the problem is that you are playing in a game where you have no positive expectation. In fact, it seems such a daunting task to even have an expectation from this game. So you're only focused on the hand in front of you. So you are only counting your wins and losses based on a hand, based on session per session per session. When you are in a great poker game, imagine you're surrounded by rich people who are gambling, who are playing way more hands than you are playing, who are going all in, blind, who are re-raising blind, who are straddling, re-straddling, who are sometimes showing one card when you have a big decision. Imagine a fun game like that. We've all played a game like that. We've all been in a game where, some rich guy is sitting, he's drinking, and he's just having the time of his life. And he doesn't care whether he wins or loses. And he wants the game to be entertaining and fun, and he makes the game entertaining and fun for everybody. And I have been that guy from time to time. And I'm sure you have been that guy from time to time. And I'm sure you've also seen other people being that guy. So if you're in a game with people that are like that, surrounded by people like that, what is your expectation from that game? Ask yourself this question. I'm not even going to tell you. Ask yourself, do you think that if you continue playing in that game day over day, week over week, are you going to be in the plus or are you going to be in the minus? In a game like that, you have positive expectation for the long-term future. So you don't care what happens in a single hand. You don't care what happens in a single session. So if you get a bad beat, you don't tilt, because deep into your bones, you know for a fact that in a game like this, you're absolutely going to win. And that is exactly what I figured out when I solved the problem of tilt. I realized that I was in the wrong game, and that's why I'm tilting. In fact, when you're in the right game, your focus shifts from what's happening in the game to the fact that you need to make sure you always have a seat in that game. And to make sure that you always have a seat in that game, you now start to give more action than the next guy. Now the competition becomes who's the most fun and entertaining guy in the poker game. Now, wouldn't you like to play in a game like that, where you are being pushed out of your comfort zone to try and make the game more entertaining because everybody else around you is doing that? In a game like that, when you get a bad beat, you have a very opposite reaction from being tilted. You laugh it off. It's almost funny. It's hilarious to you. And the reason why it's hilarious to you is because you know that now you have just reserved your seat for the next session. Because you have given a lot of action and because you have lost money in the game, people now look at you as a good person to keep inviting back to this game so that the vibe of the game is maintained. Nothing kills the vibe of the game than a guy who plays tight and who wins too much money. Absolutely nothing. You could put the most ugly, boring guy on the poker table, as long as he's giving action, he's playing a lot of hands, he's getting his chips in there, he's going all in. People don't mind. People want to play with a player like that. So when you're surrounded by people who are giving you action, you have a positive expectation for the future. So when you lose a big hand, when you get a bad beat, instead of being tilted, you're almost happy. You're almost happy because now you have ensured your seat in that game for the foreseeable future. And you know now for a fact that no matter what happens, at the end of the day, at the end of that game, you're going to be in the plus. You're going to be positive. And this is the thing that most people don't realize. They think that if they just play their A game, if they just make all of the right decisions, that they are going to win. If they just don't get bad beats, that they are going to win. If you win too much in the right game, you're never going to be invited back. And if you win in a manner where people think that you won because you are more skilled than them, or you are a better poker player than them, or that you know what you're doing. If you play in a manner like that and win, people don't want to play with you anymore. You have to have an image of being lucky. In fact, you need to actively perpetuate that image. Every single time I win, I want my opponents to think that I got lucky. I want my opponents to think that I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, that I'm a complete idiot, and I just kept getting lucky. And that is how I keep getting invited back into the games. How do I do that? By playing a lot of hands, by bluffing with a lot of hands, by going all in with hands that I should not be going all in with. In a situation where I have the nut flush draw, instead of calling, I will just go all in. Because two very good things will happen. Either the guy will fold and I will show my bluff, or he will call, and from time to time I'll win, in which case they will consider that I was lucky. And from time to time I will lose, but I will show my hand and people will think that I'm a crazy guy and I'm just going to ready to gamble. So they're just gonna give me more action. They're gonna wanna keep inviting me back to the game. They're gonna think that I am the sucker. You want people to think that you are the sucker. That is a beautiful thing. But people, in fact, get tilted when people think that they are the sucker. They take it personally and they get offended. A lot of the people, especially recreational players, don't want to feel like they are the target, because it makes them feel like they are being hunted on the poker table. And while that is not a very good feeling, what you have to realize that in a game like that, you are surrounded by not the right people. You are surrounded by people who are trying to make money from poker, whose entire job it is to target you and exploit you. The entire game is designed to target you and exploit you. And that's why you tilt, right? Because it makes you feel like they are almost trying to poke you. They're almost trying to put you on edge so that you start making bad decisions. But if you had an image in a game where you knew that you were better than everybody else, would you mind? You wouldn't mind. You'd be happy. You'd be like, yes, of course, I am a fish, because that's what they call you, right? But if you're in a game where you knew that you are not the fish, but everybody still called you the fish, wouldn't that be the dream situation? That would be the perfect situation. You want to make your opponents underestimate you. That's basically the entire strategy of war. Every single general wants the opposing side to underestimate him and his army. Similarly in poker, it's a big advantage if your opponents underestimate you. So if your opponents are underestimating you and they're actually better than you, then that's bad. But if your opponents underestimate you, but you are better than them, then nothing could be better than that. Like, what else would you want from a poker game? You would never tilt, even if they think that you are the fish. You would never tilt, even if they think that you are being the target and you are the spot. You are the sucker. You wouldn't tilt. You'd be happy they think that, because that means they keep inviting you back into the game. So your job as a recreational poker player is to really just find a poker game like that. You just need to surround yourself by people who are worse than you, who are losing money in poker more than you are losing. And then you just automatically start winning, right? That is the entire question in poker. That's the entire puzzle in poker. How to find games like that? Well, I'll tell you, you're definitely not going to find games like that as long as you keep playing with the same people that you're playing with. If you keep playing in the same game that you're playing with, better people are not going to magically appear in your game thinking that, you know what, I don't want this guy to tilt. Let me go and let me just splurge some money into the pots. Let me splash some pots. Let me hope that this guy recovers his money. That's not going to happen. If you want to change your poker situation, you're going to have to do the work. And that's exactly why I created this channel. Because I've played poker for 10 years. And believe it or not, I was also losing, just like you, in the beginning. Everybody starts out as a losing poker player. Every single poker player that you know. The greatest poker player, Phil Ivey, used to go to Atlantic City to play poker in the casinos. And he would go broke so many times. He would have to sleep in the bus on the bus stop and catch a bus in the morning back home because he didn't have the money to afford a hotel in Atlantic City. That's why he got the nickname No Home Jerome, because he literally had no home to sleep in. He was broke, flat broke. Every single poker player started out as a losing poker player. So if you are losing in poker, you're not special. I'm sorry to say. Everybody started out like that. The only people who made it to the other side were the ones who were obsessed enough with poker, were the ones who were addicted enough to poker that they didn't quit, but they found a way. And every single poker player has their own journey. They have their own path to getting to the promised land. What do the youngsters do? The youngsters study poker. They study books, they go on forums, they discuss strategy, they go on computers, they run different kinds of softwares that help them. They have different ways to do it. But the way that I did it was I just figured out that I just need to play with worse players than myself, and then I'm going to make tons of money without having to change anything about my game. And that is not just the easier path, but it also the path that makes you the most amount of money. Because when these youngsters study and they practice and they play millions of hands online and they do everything in their power to increase their edge, once people figure out that they have done that and now they are only going to win, people stop playing with them. Right? Because only somebody who's an idiot will keep playing with someone who's consistently beating them. The only way you are going to play with someone who's consistently beating you is if that guy has convinced you that he's winning because he's lucky. And that is the entire game in poker. If you think that you're losing to someone because they continuously keep getting lucky, I have bad news for you. You have been tricked. You have been scammed. The biggest scam in poker is perpetuating the fact that you are losing because of bad luck. You think you believe that because you came up with that. You think that you believe that because the evidence showed you that. But that's not reality. The reality is that the people who are winning have convinced you that you're losing because of bad luck. It's literally astrology for men. Women have been convinced that the reason why their relationships don't work out is because of astrology signs. Because Saturn was in this space and Mercury was in retrograde and Pluto was not aligned and their chakras were not. It's all fucking bullshit. It's a scam. It's a scam to make money off of these women who are being emotionally manipulated by the astrologers. That same scam is running in poker. Everybody is talking about luck. Everybody is thinking that they are losing money because of bad luck. And they have no idea what is happening. This is the biggest hustle in poker. Biggest ever hustle. Do you ever get the feeling that something is fishy in your poker game? Have you ever got the feeling that, you are being duped? Like they are doing something that you don't know what they're doing. They're doing something shady. And they're winning not because of legit reasons. There are many, many reasons why people win money from you. There's so many layers and layers of the scam. But the top layer is that they have you convinced that you're losing only because of bad luck. So you keep focusing on the luck and you don't see all of the different hundreds of layers of scams underneath the luck. On this YouTube channel, I'm going to reveal all of it. I'm going to reveal the entire enchilada of scams that are buried under the veneer of bad luck. Bad luck is it's a shiny object that they wave in front of you and they hypnotize you with it. Because you see, as humans, we want to find explanations for everything. We want to find meaning for everything. And we are especially prone to feeling the pain of loss. We are very risk averse. Evolutionarily, any humans that took too much unnecessary risk died. So their genes didn't propagate. The only people who were able to reproduce over generations and generations were people who were very careful with risk. So when you take the risk on the poker table and you lose money, valuable energy, valuable asset that you work really hard for. You basically have to find an explanation for it, right? What could be the explanation? After all, you're smart, you're intelligent. If you are somebody who's a successful business owner playing poker, a recreational player who has disposable income to spend in poker, you probably achieved something in your life. So you put your head down on a big task, on a difficult task, you solved it, you achieved the success, and now you're losing to idiots on the poker table. You're losing to people who have done nothing, who are half your age, they have half your experience, they don't even have half your wisdom, they don't even have half your class and way to be in the world. They have no clue. But yet they consistently keep beating you on the poker table. So definitely something fishy, something shady is going on. But the biggest scam they pull on you is the scam of luck. Because as long as you keep focusing on the luck, which by the way, you cannot change, you cannot control, right? Even if, let's say, luck is real, which I do believe that sometimes, from time to time, luck can play a huge factor. But even if it is real, what can you do about it? Are you going to go and pay some astrologer now to fix your luck in poker? Are you going to do some ritual? Are you going to wear some band or bring some lucky chip protector? Do you think that that will really help you? See, poker is very simple. The person who spends more time playing poker, who's the smarter one, will win. Now you could be smarter, but if you don't spend enough time, they could still overtake you. The person who is willing to do whatever it takes to win, the person who's more desperate for money, will win. Simple as that. Because they are willing to do things that you're not willing to do. And I will get into all of this on this poker channel, but the point of this video is that tilt happens because they have convinced you that you lost because of bad luck. If you had figured out why you lost, if you figure out the actual scam, then you'll never lose. And then you will never tilt. Because if you just win, you don't tilt. And obviously you will never win all the time, but as long as you know for a fact that you're going to win in the long run, you will never tilt. So your only job is to be in a game where you know for sure that you're going to win. And that when you lose, instead of tilting, you're actually happy because you keep getting invited back to that game. So I have covered a lot of ground in this video. I talked about tilt. I talk about the role of luck. I talk about how they distract you with the illusion and the mirage of luck so that you don't focus on the actual scams. I didn't go into the actual scams because that's an entire whole Pandora's box and it'll take me a lot more time than what I have in a video to cover it. But I am going to cover more videos about that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.